Greetings, Brutal Planet. It is the next installment of our new segment, now streaming, and this week we have a band for you called Lacuna Coil. If you're a metal person, a lot of you probably have heard of Lacuna Coil. They kind of started in the really blew up in the early 2000s, doing that almost kind of an Evanescence style with the two vocalists, a male and a female vocalist. And they've kind of continued to put out a lot of good stuff over the years. They have a new album out called Sleepless Empire, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But first, let's go into the history of Lacuna Coil just a little bit before we get started. So Lacuna Coil is an Italian gothic metal band from Milan. Since their formation in 94, the group has had two name changes. They originally started out as Sleep of Right and eventually changed their name to Ethereal. Upon signing with Century Media, they found out that the name Ethereal was taken by a Greek band, so they ended up changing their name to Lacuna Coil, which means empty spiral and kind of summarizes the band's vision or take on life in general. So the band was formed by vocalist Andrea Ferrero and bassist-composer Marco Cody Zalotti, also known as Maki, and Christina Scabbia, who is the band's female vocalist. They met up with her in 95. She was a girlfriend of Marco at that point, and they asked her to do some backup vocals, and she eventually became a consistent part of the band. So the band has put out several albums over the years. Their first record was called In Reverie. In Reverie came out in 99, Unleashed Memories in 2001, Comalize in 2002, Karma Code in 2006, Shallow Life in 2009, Dark Adrenaline in 2012, Broken Crown Halo in 2014, Delirium in 2016, Black Anima in 2019, and this new record, which we're about to talk about right now, called Sleepless Empire, which comes out today, Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2025. So let's get into it. If you know Lacuna Coil, you already know kind of what their style is. And the best way for me to sum it up is kind of cinematic metal, a little bit of a new metal leaning, but very, very cool orchestrated string arrangements. And just, I would say in the vein of a band like Evanescence, who, when I originally found Lacuna Coil years ago, I kind of thought maybe if Evanescence was copying their style a little bit from Lacuna Coil, because it's a very similar style, with the female vocalist and the male counterpart doing the heavier, growly parts. But it turns out that both bands were formed around the same time and had kind of the same trajectory. The big difference being Evanescence didn't put out, one of their bigger records until 2003, while Lacuna Coil had, 3 albums out by 2003. In Reverie, Unleashed Memories, and Comalize came out in 99, 2001, and 2002 respectively, while Evanescence's debut album Fallen came out in 2003. So these two bands have kind of a similar trajectory, and at least in their initial inception had a similar sound. So to jump up to Lacuna Coil's latest album, Sleepless Empire, it's out on Century Media Records as of today, Valentine's Day, February 14th. And what I'm going to do is go through it track by track for you and give you kind of my individual review of each track. But just to summarize, so Marco, the chief songwriter for the band, he says, "I never get stuck in the past. Sure, I love Typo Negative and Paradise Lost, but I also love soundtracks, big orchestral stuff like Hans Zimmer, Danny Elfman, even John Williams. If people had a chance to listen to Sleepless Empire without voice, guitars, or drums, the orchestral part, it'd be a soundtrack because it's very cinematic, and that's how I spend most of my time. I grew up watching movies all day long, even with my father." So the album also has a couple guest spots. Lamb of God singer Randy Blythe is on the song Hosting the Shadow, and according to vocalist Andrea Ferrero, Randy's inclusion was a family affair. He had this to say: "We met Randy when we did Ozfest together back in 2004. We were on the same stage and we started a friendship and always stayed in touch. We toured together so many different situations and so many different festivals, so we know each other. He's really like a part of the family to us. Finally doing a collab with him was both a natural thing, but also a huge honor for us as we're friends, but also fans." So The new album is called Sleepless Empire, and I'm going to give you a track-by-track breakdown right now. So let's get it started. Okay, wow, what a great opening song. So a couple things. It kind of starts with this cool little synth build-in, and then it really opens up into a big epic song with an epic chorus. And man, her vocals are so fantastic. Christina does this hook that's really catchy, like this. Dun, 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 dun. And I have to say, the overall tone of the music reminds me a lot of Angel Dust era Faith No More. There's even this part at the end of the song, this kind of build up where it sounds almost like an angel. It's got the string arrangement before it drops off, and it gives you kind of just a little bit of ethereal kind of keyboard noise before, and then plunges right back into the chorus one last time. Dun, 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 dun. Anyway, great opener, The Siege. Let's get on to the next track. All right, so another great track. This one's called Oxygen, and I really dig the main riff on this. It's got this kind of crunchy down tune, very new metal-y type of and then the chorus is very hooky. It's very catchy. The chorus doesn't hit me near as nicely as it did on the first track, The Siege, but it's still very catchy, you know. And the song kind of has a similar flow where it goes from this kind of heavier riff to this open chorus and then drops off into a little breakdown and back into the chorus before it ends. Another good track. So that's a track called Scarecrow. This one is a little more melodic vocal heavy. I really like what Christina's doing on the verses. She's doing this kind of dance around the guitar riff, and it's a melodic dance. Now there are some of Andrea's heavier vocals kind of in the mix as well, but I thought this one has some cool textures in it, and the chorus has a kind of a complex hook too, the way that she's kind of weaving these melodies in. But another banger, a really heavy track, and much more, I think on the previous song, the guitar riff was really memorable. On this one, it's not as much about the riff as it is the vocal parts, but a great track. Okay, so this one's called Gravity. Probably the heaviest verse on the record so far. It's very industrial. It kind of starts off with this really cool little synth kind of pattern, and then the guitar comes in on top of that, and his Andrea's vocals on these verse parts is incredibly heavy. It's really cool. And then the chorus that comes in again. The thing I love about Christina is she does such a great job of creating these melodies that blend, they kind of interweave with the guitar riffs, but they also are complex but catchy at the same time. So it's not like a simple melody like this one. She's like like she's all over the place with her voice on this, but creating these really catchy yet complex melody patterns that I think this is one of the songs that really hit me the hardest so far in the track list. Again, this one's called Gravity. All right, this one is called I Wish You Were Dead. This one was the lead single on the record. Standout vocals from Christina, I have to say. She is so sexy. Her voice is fucking dripping with like just sensuality on this song. You can I probably sound like an oversexed fucking dweeb saying stuff like that, but for real, her voice is like what makes the song. Like she's got such a sexy style about her, especially with her vocal cadence on this song and the way she kind of, her accent and then the chorus when Andrea comes in. Also very cool. I don't think they overdo it. Her vocals really stand out. It's almost like they're mixed louder on this song. But also the single. I have to say too, This one appeals a little bit more to me after repeat listens. At the it's because it's kind of more of, it's definitely one of the more simple, straightforward type songs on the record. You know, there's no complex riffs or anything, very vocal driven. But the more I listen to it, the more I really like this one. So this one's I Wish You Were Dead. All right, this one is called Hosting the Shadow, and it features the one and only D. Randall Blythe from the legendary metal band Lamb of God. This one's a pretty typical Lacuna Coil track. It's got Randy on the verse parts and Christina doing the melodic choruses. Very cool blend. You know, you could hear Andrea doing those vocals in Randy's absence. You know, like I said, it's kind of the textbook Lacuna Coil track with the heavy verse vocals and the melodic kind of soaring chorus. This one has like a really soaring chorus too, with those string arrangements behind it, kind of like pushing it, giving it that kind of like really epic soaring kind of sound. But solid track also, and this is about the halfway point of the record, so. Okay, this one is another standout one, in my opinion. Another standout track. It's called In Nomine Patris. And I don't know what that means, but it kind of starts with this chant, almost like a Gregorian chant type thing. And then it really builds into this really cool kind of riff pattern. And I have to, again, compare it to Angel Dust, King for a Day era Faith No More, because it's got that driving guitar with the strings behind it, the string arrangements. So it just, for me, for my point of reference, my frame of reference, it's Faith No More. It's got tones of that. You know, it doesn't sound exactly like it, but it has that kind of vibe to it. You know, that, like I said, driving guitars with string arrangements. Now, there's also a really killer guitar solo about 3/4 of the way through the song, and then at the end he goes into this really cool like bend riff on the guitar, this sorry, forgive me for fucking doing that, but you get the idea. Very cool song, In Nomine Patris. Okay, wow. So that's the title track. And this is another one that the first couple times through the album, I didn't really vibe on it that much. But this time, it just really hit me. You know, Christina Scabbia is an amazing vocalist. I just have to give her serious props for the melodies that she writes and the way that she weaves around these guitar lines. Like this song in particular, just she does this kind of like ascending like note pattern. She's like da 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 da, and then it's kind of like got this like almost Iron Maiden callback thing. There's and then it's like a descending like anyway. Just really peak Lacuna Coil too, with the back and forth between her kind of insane, beautiful, melodic vocal patterns and then Andrea's kind of heavier, growly parts. And there's even like a kind of a typo negative moment in the middle of the track. And just the energy of this one, it's very high energy and it kind of fuses all of their best elements together. This is the title track, Sleepless Empire. Okay, this one is called Sleep Paralysis. A little bit of a slower groove. The chorus, she does this thing where she hits this kind of higher note, which I think is kind of interesting and unique. But I have to say, this is one of the longer songs on the album too. Not my favorite track, I got to admit, but a couple interesting little redeeming qualities, like I said, where she goes up on the chorus there. There's a little, it's kind of like different, which I appreciate. But yeah, this one was a little bit kind of like just didn't really have like a lot of intensity to it, a little bit more laid back kind of groove, and just also, like I said, one of the longer songs on the album. So that one's Sleep Paralysis. One, two, three, four, five, six, 9. Oh, it's 9. All right, so they kind of regained some momentum with this one. It's called In the Meantime and has a feature from Ash Costello. Now, I didn't know who Ash Costello was, so I had to look her up. But apparently she is a WWE wrestler. I was like, what band is Ash Costello from? But I'm going to throw up some pictures of her. She's an attractive woman. So Andrea Farrow said of adding Ash Costello to the album, we were searching for the perfect rock voice, not too clean or symphonic, but rather something with fire in it, and she has it. Exactly what we needed for that part. We really love what she did to the song. It's absolutely perfect. Okay, wow. What a finisher. What a finisher. This is track 11. It's called Never Dawn, the last track on the album, and they really bring it back with some intensity. And I love this song. So it starts kind of with this like Indian chant, this kind of like a kind of indigenous native type thing. And it blows into this intense metal track where I feel like these guys are just, it's like peak Lacuna Coil, them doing what they do best with the heavy verses and the soaring, melodic choruses. And this one, I think one of the reasons I like it so much is it probably sounds the most like Angel Dust era Faith No More, with the string arrangements underneath these like driving, cutting guitar riffs. And, of course, Andrea brings in some of the heavy vocals on the verses, and the chorus is just this beautiful soaring chorus. Christina has all this great emotion in it, and wow, just probably one of my favorite songs on the album, no doubt. It doesn't drag on too long, it's very concise. They do kind of their typical, I don't want to say typical, but kind of like their thing, their songwriting pattern, the way that they build their songs. They have like a couple choruses, then a breakdown, and a back into the chorus for the finish. And then it kind of fades out with this nice little kind of pulsing synth thing. But fantastic finisher, fantastic album. And that's the track Never Dawn, the final track on the record. So my overall thoughts on this record are, to start, I've never been like a huge Lacuna Coil fanboy, but this album really impressed me. If I was going to give it like a rating on a scale of 1 to 10, probably be like a 7.5, maybe like leaning towards an 8. It's a really good album. There were only a couple points that I was kind of a little bit like, meh. But overall, I think just a fantastic, well-written, well-produced record. They do a great job of doing, their style and their sound, but without boring the listener too much by kind of mixing up the way that they build the songs and the riff types, and the way that sometimes they kind of focus more on the vocal melodies, and other times they kind of focus more on a driving guitar riff that's, on like some of the earlier tracks. I think Oxygen is one that has this really cool kind of like driving guitar riff, and then and that's what the focus of the song is. Whereas maybe like the single I Wish You Were Dead is more driven by the vocal melody that Christina Scabia does. And absolutely fantastic vocalist. Like I said, it's difficult for me not to make the comparisons to Faith No More, Angel Dust, and King for a Day era stuff, where it's got these really driving guitar riffs with these string arrangements underneath it. But again, fantastic record. Sleepless Empire by Lacuna Coil, now streaming everywhere as of today, Valentine's Day, February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day. Go stream this record and keep it brutal.